Hello everyone. In my previous video, I talked a little bit about the problems surrounding tourism in Japan, and in particular harassment towards geiko-san. I wanted to share a few of my personal experiences when it came to harassment. So one took place when I was a trainee, so I was a shikomi-san. And then the second time was after I debuted, and this was in Tokyo, at Tokyo Station. And the reason why I bring that one up in particular is because in that one, I really sensed a difference in between how tourists treated me versus how Japanese people treated me. When you are a shikomi-san, you always need to see people out. Say for instance, you're a ne-san. If she's going to go to an evening engagement, you must follow her outside. And as she leaves, you bow to her and you say, "Itoi desu, ne-san." And you see her off, basically. And you stand there until she is out of sight. So there was one evening where I was seeing one of my sisters off. And so I follow her outside and she begins to walk towards the other side of the district. And I bow to her. And as I'm watching, and maybe 2 minutes have passed, and then suddenly a group of tourists swarm around her. And I'm standing there, but I don't really know what to do because I'm told to just stand in front of my ochaya-san. I'm told that I need to stand there, but I don't know if I should go, if I should intervene. And then thankfully, a few seconds later, Ne-san looks in my direction, flips her head, as if she's saying, "Hina-chan, come help me." And so when she signals to me, I immediately sprint towards her. And when I approach this group of people, they're all surrounding her, and they're really big, just like physically, right? And so like I'm just looking up at them, maybe like 6-7 people, and their backs are faced towards me. At this point, I haven't spoken English in a really long time, and my voice is already very quiet, and so I need to prepare myself mentally to voice myself. I mustered up the courage to say, "Excuse me, like she needs to go to work." And a man turned around and looked down at me, and his face said it all. His face said, "Who is this girl?" Which is true, which is probably true. You know, I'm wearing very modest clothes and my hair is in a bun. I look like a random girl. And what is she saying, basically? And then one woman chimes in, "But I want to take a photo with her." And then someone else repeats the same thing. And there's just a commotion of complaints. But I feel the adrenaline pumping more through my body, and I'm just like, no, she needs to go to work. She's already late for work. And then I guess they just grumbled and just gave up, and my sister was free, right? And so I stood there and waited for her to continue walking, and when I saw that she was out of sight, I bowed and I walked back home. And as I'm walking home, I'm still feeling very frustrated. In that moment, I'm thinking, if only there was a way these tourists or anyone could understand why geiko-san, maiko-san could not be bothered or disrupted. I remember thinking that while walking back home. That was the first time that I felt protective of my ne-san. Our relationship was only what went on inside of the ochaya-san, which is it was just hierarchy, right? Like senior, junior, very strict hierarchy. But then that was the first moment that we were outside together. I felt very protective of her. And so that was an interesting feeling for me. Of course, I was frustrated that she was bothered. I was also frustrated because When I was Ishikomi-san, when I was a trainee, a lot of what I was doing was helping my sisters, right? I was serving her meals, cleaning up after her. I was folding all of her okimono, rolling all of her cords, folding her obi, wiping her back makeup, like helping her get dressed and laying out her ofuton, all of these things, right? And so my existence, my purpose, at least when I was Ishikomi-san, felt as if it was to help my sisters and everyone around me. It was almost as if I contributed to this entity, this existence, their existence, when they left the ochaya-san. And it's not just me, right? And I wasn't doing anything that was meaningful. It was more just a lot of things. But it wasn't just me. It was Okasa-san, it was Otokoshi-san, it was all of these people work that enabled who she was. Yet this thing that involved so many people's hard work was disrupted by tourists on the street. And I think that's what, to me personally, felt frustrating. So there's that, but in reality, it's more that you cannot disrupt them because every moment counts, every minute counts, and is calculated in the kagai. So the moment she leaves the ochaya-san to go to her destination, it is calculated. And so when someone disrupts her on the street, takes away her time, not only is she being harassed, not only is she feeling uncomfortable, the ochaya-san that she needs to go to is being affected, and that customer at that ochaya-san is also being affected, right? And the guests that are at that event or whatever it may be are also affected. And so it's not just bothering her, disrupting her, it bothers a network of people and not just her. And that's another reason why they cannot be bothered or disrupted. Okay, so my second...
Hello, Mai-chan. Hi.
So the second story is when I debuted and when I was a geiko myself. So I was on a shucho, which is a business trip, and I was with a teahouse okasan, so a ochaya-san no okasan. So it was the two of us, and we were going to Tokyo, and then at a certain point we were at Tokyo Eki, so Tokyo Station. A lot of people there, but unlike Kyoto, there are significantly more Japanese people than there are tourists. On this day, I'm wearing my white makeup and my wig and my susohiki kimono. And I'm also carrying my umbrella with my right arm and my basket with in my left arm. And trying to make my way through the station. And I ran into tourists twice. So first I ran into two men, and I noticed them because they were like physically a lot bigger than all the Japanese people around them. I kind of looked away from them because I thought they might say something, but then they noticed me, and so they did say something. And so in a really loud voice, they said things like, "Oh, you're so beautiful," but they said it in a really loud voice. Maybe it was meant to be a compliment, but I felt uncomfortable. And I think it was also the way they were looking at me that I didn't like. And as I'm walking away from these people, at a certain point, I see something right here in my peripheral. And I look, and there's a camera right next to my face. And basically, a woman is holding her camera directly next to my face. In that moment, I'm kind of just in a little bit of a shock because I don't understand how someone can hold a camera so close to a stranger's face. And so I tell her, please, no photos. But she just ignores me and just keeps going on. And so I try to turn away from her and walk in a different direction, but she's still here. At a certain point, I'm trying to go to the ticket gate, so the place that you need to pass through to get to the other side of the station. And while I'm trying to put the ticket through, I suddenly feel this shove from behind me. I'm a little bit in a daze, right? I don't understand what just happened, but I look to my side and I see that that woman who had just been taking photos of me directly next to my face, she shoved me from behind. Maybe she was trying to get through the ticket gate too and wanted me to be quicker about it. But that was just so uncalled for. I remember just feeling in that moment like being so fed up with everything and feeling like, what did I do to deserve this? You know, I'm already carrying so much weight on my body. My arms are filled. I have 2 kilograms on my head. I can't dirty anything. I can't scratch anything. I can't rip anything. I have to be very careful of going through these narrow spaces to touch anything around me because I could damage anything that I'm holding and that I'm wearing. But that woman had absolutely no respect for my personal space, and so she just shoved me through. While I had bad experiences in Tokyo Station, the rest of my walk through the station was actually very peaceful. And that's because the rest of my interactions with people were with Japanese people. There was a huge crowd of them, and I walked through, and every single person made room for me. They moved out of my way. I'm noticeable, right? And people do see me. I see them too. And what was interesting was that whenever I made eye contact with them, they looked down. Not even to the side, but down. There was a woman who I think was walking with her daughter, like a little girl. And the little girl sees me. She looks up, points, and she says, "Mama, kirei." Oh, she's pretty. But the mom just looks down, takes her daughter, moves her out of my way, and proceeds to walk forward. And so during the rest of my travel through the station, it was very peaceful. It was nice because everyone moved out of my way, almost unnecessarily. And then the people who I made eye contact with, they looked down. Out of all of my interactions with tourists, I remember that time at Tokyo Station in particular because I sensed this stark difference between how tourists treated me and how Japanese people treated me. It was something completely different. But this isn't to say that Japanese people are nicer or warmer or better by any means, but it was very clear that Japanese people have a completely different understanding of what consideration is for others. Every single person that I made eye contact with, they looked down. It was as if they were saying, "I don't want to bother you, I don't want to disturb you by even looking at you." And so I really appreciated the amount of space they gave me. And I think it also said something about like indulgence. Like you don't indulge in what you want to do, right? Because what people want to do is to look. People would want to look at a maiko-san, at a geiko-san, right? Because they are very beautiful, right? But no one in that station, at least from what I could see, indulged in what they wanted to do. Instead, they prioritized not bothering me, not disturbing me, not making me feel uncomfortable. And so I really was grateful to everyone in that station. And so when it comes to showing respect and being respectful to geiko-san, maiko-san, it's more than just not taking photos of them or not chasing them, following them and doing all these things, but I think it's something more that we have to do, and that is to give them space. There's a Japanese phrase that comes to mind, and it's toku kara mimamoru, which means to just appreciate them from afar, appreciate them from a distance. And I think that's what needs to happen in order for them to feel safe and in order for them to feel respected and appreciated. Let geikoさん、maikoさん B 遠くから見守る。I think these things are all necessary for showing respect towards a geiko さん and a maiko さん。